So today we are going to dive deep into one of the most fascinating and frankly tragic figures in all of modern drama. We're talking about Jamie Tyrone, the haunted elder son from Eugene O'Neill's masterpiece Long Day's Journey into Night. Now, this is a character who is just defined by this corrosive cynicism and a self-destructive streak that is a mile wide. And this quote, "This is pure Jamie." It is his entire worldview in a single sentence. While the rest of his family is desperately clinging to any little shred of hope they can find, Jamie is the one who just insists on staring right into the abyss. And it's that bleak, brutal honesty that makes him so compelling and just so devastating to watch. So what's really going on here? What is fueling this fire? Is he just some bitter, washed-up alcoholic? Or is there something way deeper, something much more wounded at his core? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by looking at the mask he wears, then dig into the past that haunts him. We'll explore his really complicated relationship with his mother and that intense love-hate dynamic he has with his brother. Then, we'll break down his big Act 4 confession, and finally deliver our final verdict on the man himself. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the mask Jamie wears. On the surface, he's 33 years old, but he looks so much older, totally wrecked by his lifestyle. His whole cynical attitude, it's really a shield he holds up against the entire world. You see, all of Jamie's vices, they're more than just character flaws. The heavy drinking, the womanizing, completely wasting his acting talent, these are all defense mechanisms. They're acts of rebellion against his father's stinginess and a way to cope with the sheer anxiety of his family life. He makes fun of his family's problems because actually facing them head-on, way too painful. So to really understand the mask, we have to look at the man underneath. And for the Tyrones, you have to get this. The past is never really past. It is a living, breathing thing in their house. And for Jamie, it is the source of his absolute deepest wounds. This quote just nails the core of his tragedy. Jamie didn't just become this way out of nowhere. He was literally forged in the fire of his family's dysfunction. He was born into this gothic world of doubt and despair, and honestly, he never really stood a chance of escaping it. And here's kind of the blueprint for that failure. As a little kid, he carried this crushing guilt of being blamed for his baby brother's death. Then, as a young man, he gets pushed into an acting career he absolutely despises, basically forced to be a pale imitation of his famous father. It's this chain of failure and resentment that creates a feedback loop of self-hatred that he just can't break. So all these past traumas, they don't just disappear. They manifest in this really powerful way, which we can start to understand if we look at it through a psychological lens, especially when we focus on his incredibly complicated relationship with his mother, Mary. The Oedipus complex is absolutely key to understanding Jamie. Basically, it's this unconscious dynamic where he's in a constant simmering conflict with his dad for his mother's affection. And this one thing, it shapes his entire view of the world, and especially his view of women. And here's what that looks like in practice. This psychological split is just fascinating and so tragic. See, he can't reconcile his idealized image of his mother, this perfect, saintly woman, with the reality of her as a morphine addict. So he projects this conflict onto every woman he meets, seeking out prostitutes, often older, motherly types, to act out all his complicated feelings of love, resentment, and disgust. Now, this brings us to what might be Jamie's most painful and complex relationship of all, the one with his younger brother, Edmund. It is a true, undeniable paradox of love and hate. On the one hand, Jamie is constantly talking about this deep, protective love he has for Edmund, his kid brother. But then, on the other hand, there's this darker part of him that is intensely jealous and actively, consciously wants to see Edmund fail. He's both a guardian and a saboteur, sometimes in the very same breath. It's just wild. And all of this inner conflict, it just explodes in Jamie's drunken confession to Edmund in Act 4. This is the moment. This is where the mask doesn't just slip, it is completely obliterated. Fueled by a ton of whiskey and a lifetime of despair, Jamie just lays himself bare. It's one of the most raw, honest, and painful moments in all of American theater, and we are going to break it down piece by piece. He starts with this absolutely stunning admission. All those times he led Edmund down the path of drinking and vice, yeah, that wasn't just big brotherly fun and games. It was sabotage.
He confesses that a big part of him intentionally tried to corrupt his brother, to make him a failure, just like him.
And here's the motive: pure, uncut jealousy. In his eyes, Edmund was always the favored son, the one who got the love and attention that he craved and then lost. He even connects Edmund's birth to their mother's morphine addiction, a resentment that he has carried his entire life. But then, just when you think you've got him pinned down as the bad guy, he hits you with this incredible, paradoxical twist. In his warped mind, this horrifying confession isn't an act of hate at all. He thinks it's the ultimate proof of his love. He's warning Edmund, trying to save him from the very poison that he himself administered. It's a desperate, totally twisted act of protection. And this is the climax of it all. This shocking, almost gothic claim of ownership. He sees Edmund's cynicism, his dissipation, not as a shared family trait, but as his own personal creation. It's a declaration of profound guilt and, in a really twisted way, a kind of pride in his own destructive power. So after that soul-shattering confession, what's the final verdict on Jamie Tyrone? What are we left with? Well, we're left with the image of a truly damned soul. Ultimately, Jamie is one of modern drama's great tragic figures. He is completely aware of his own rottenness, but he is trapped. He's caught in this vicious cycle of guilt from his past and self-destruction in the present, and he is just completely unable to break free. So in the end, Jamie is haunted by a guilt he was basically handed as a child. He's trapped by the toxic blame and resentment that passes for love in his family. His love and his hate are so intertwined, you can't tell where one begins and the other ends. He is a damned soul who can confess his sins with brutal honesty, but finds absolutely no peace and no redemption. And that leaves us with one final tough question. After seeing the whole picture, the poison he spreads, and the immense pain he carries, is Jamie Tyrone a villain, responsible for his actions? Is he a victim of a past that he could never escape? Or is the truth, like everything else in this play, somewhere in that murky, tragic, impossible space right in between?